Imagine waking up to the sound of battle horns echoing across a misty fjord. The ground trembles under the boots of warriors with axes sharp enough to split a shield in half. The sea, once calm, is now churned by sleek wooden ships with dragon-headed prows. These are the Vikings, the fearless seafarers who struck fear into the hearts of empires. But who were they really? Ruthless raiders, skilled traders, or something far more complex? This is the untamed history of the Vikings. The Vikings weren't a single people, but rather a collection of Norse seafarers from modern-day Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Their story begins around the late 8th century, in a land of towering mountains, deep fjords, and icy winters. Life was tough, and survival meant being strong, resourceful, and fiercely independent. But what made the Vikings so feared was their ability to strike from the sea with lightning speed. In 793 AD, history changed forever when the first recorded Viking raid took place at Lindisfarne, a small monastery off the coast of England. The monks never saw it coming. The Viking longships arrived like ghosts on the water, their warriors storming ashore with swords and axes. Gold and silver were taken, the monastery was burned, and the world got its first taste of Viking fury. For the next 2 centuries, Viking raids became a terrifying reality for Europe. No coastal village was safe. No king could sleep soundly. The Vikings weren't just warriors, they were expert navigators, using the stars and even birds to find their way across vast oceans. Their long ships, narrow and fast, could sail up rivers, striking deep into enemy territory. They didn't just raid, they conquered. In 865 AD, a massive Viking army, known as the Great Heathen Army, landed in England. They didn't come to pillage and leave, they came to stay. The city of York fell to the Vikings, becoming the capital of their new kingdom. In France, the Viking chieftain Rollo raided so successfully that the King of France, Charles the Simple, had no choice but to offer him land to make peace. That land became Normandy, literally meaning land of the Northmen. But the Vikings were more than just warriors. They were also master traders, forging connections across Europe, the Middle East, and even Asia. Viking merchants carried furs, amber, and iron as far as Constantinople, the jewel of the Byzantine Empire. Some even became the personal bodyguards of the Byzantine emperor, known as the Varangian Guard. They traveled not only for wealth, but for knowledge. Norse mythology tells of vast, unexplored lands and distant horizons, and Viking curiosity knew no bounds. They mapped unknown territories, brought back exotic goods, and exchanged ideas with cultures as far as Baghdad and beyond. And then there were the explorers. Leif Erikson, son of the legendary Erik the Red, set sail westward and landed in North America, 500 years before Columbus. He called the land Vineland, believed to be modern-day Newfoundland, Canada. The Vikings had discovered a new world, though their settlements there didn't last. Nevertheless, their courage in venturing into the unknown places them among the greatest explorers in history. Despite their reputation as bloodthirsty warriors, the Vikings had a rich and complex society. They valued family, storytelling, and craftsmanship. Their sagas, long epic tales of heroism and gods, were passed down through generations and still survive today. Viking women enjoyed a level of independence unheard of in most medieval societies. They could own land, divorce their husbands, and even rule in their own right. Shield maidens, though debated by historians, are believed to have fought alongside their male counterparts in battle. Vikings also had a deep spiritual connection to their gods, Odin, Thor, and Freya, among others. Their beliefs influenced their daily lives, from rituals and ceremonies to burial practices. Warriors hoped to die in battle and ascend to Valhalla, where they would feast and fight for eternity. The Norse pantheon was deeply ingrained in Viking society. Odin, the All-Father, was the god of wisdom, war, and poetry. Thor, the mighty protector with his hammer Mjolnir, was the people's champion, guarding them against chaos and giants. Loki, the trickster, was both a source of trouble and an unexpected ally in their myths. These gods shaped the Viking worldview, inspiring their sense of fate, honor, and heroism. The Vikings were not just a band of unruly pirates, they were a disciplined military force. Their tactics were swift and brutal, using surprise attacks to overwhelm enemies before they had time to react. Viking berserkers, legendary warriors who fought in a trance-like fury, struck terror into their foes. Their weapons and armor were expertly crafted. The iconic Viking axe was lightweight yet deadly, capable of cleaving shields and armor. Swords were treasured possessions, often handed down through generations. Shields were not just defensive tools, but also weapons used to bash and disarm opponents in combat. One of their greatest military achievements was the Siege of Paris in 845 AD, where a Viking fleet of 120 ships sailed up the Seine River, laying waste to the city until a ransom was paid to make them leave. This strategy of siege and extortion became a hallmark of Viking warfare. As Christianity spread across Europe, it began to reach Viking territories. Kings and chieftains, seeing the political advantages of aligning with Christian rulers, started converting. By the 11th century, many Norsemen had embraced Christianity, leading to a decline in the old pagan beliefs and the eventual transformation of Viking society. Christianization brought an end to many Viking practices, including human sacrifices and polytheistic rituals. It also led to a more structured governance system, shifting from warrior-driven leadership to monarchy-based rule. This marked the beginning of the end for the traditional Viking way of life. By the late 11th century, the Viking Age was coming to an end. Many Scandinavian kingdoms had converted to Christianity, and Viking society began to change. The very lands they once raided were now their homes. England, once terrorized by Viking warbands, was ruled by a Viking king, Knut the Great. But with stronger European kingdoms, fortified cities, and changing times, the Viking way of life slowly faded, yet their legacy lives on. In words we speak, berserk, thrust, and ransack all come from Old Norse, in the descendants of the Normans who shaped medieval Europe, and in the spirit of adventure, exploration, and resilience that defined them. Even today, Viking history influences modern culture. From television shows and movies to festivals that celebrate Norse mythology, the Viking spirit is alive. Archaeologists continue to uncover Viking artifacts, shedding new light on their customs and way of life. In Scandinavia, Viking heritage is a source of pride, with museums and reconstructed villages allowing people to step back in time. So the next time you hear tales of dragons on the sea and warriors with braided beards, remember there was a time when the world trembled at the sound of Viking war horns. Their history isn't just one of war and conquest, it's a story of exploration, resilience, and the undying spirit of the North. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like and subscribe for more history that shaped our world.